infuses fear. So when you see it, identify it. That's fear infused by Satan. He wants me to be afraid, to tell other people he wants you to be afraid. But I decree that we will not be afraid. Why? Because perfect love, what? Cast out. You better say it. And God has perfect love for me. I mean, it ain't even based on how I love him. It's how he loves me. You better understand it, because some days y'all love me back, to tell the truth. You're like, I love you, but it's the way he loves me. And that casts out all fear.
Thank you for your continued support of Diane Lazare Ministries. Here are a few of our upcoming events. Register for our Sisters of Strength Women's Retreat today. There are times when we need to rescue ourselves. We must intentionally stop our daily life routines to refresh and reset our kingdom purpose. Join Dr. Diane in the beautiful city of Orlando, Florida. Register today at sisretreat.com. Now let's get ready for today's Faith Friday broadcast.
Let's talk about culture. He infuses through fear. And then number 2, he infuses through culture. So he makes us afraid, because when you're afraid, you can't think right. When you're afraid, you don't really feel like I'm connecting with God. Your emotions kind of take over. It takes a lot to get control of your emotions when fear sets in, okay? So number 2, culture. Satan infuses our culture. Culture is everything we do. It's where we go to eat. It's where we hang out. It's where we go to church. It's the people we hang around. It's where we work. All of that is culture. It is the way you were raised. So he infused. Infuse means he gets so embedded that it's difficult to tell what is natural and what is satanic. That's what happens when he infuses. It just looks so, it looks harmless. It looks so harmless until we actually take in and receive it, because it doesn't seem like it is such a big deal. Now, I'll start here since Mother Jean brought up media. Let's go with culture, and I'm going to talk about a media purge. Talk about culture. The media is a part of all of our culture, whether you like it or not. It is everywhere. It's in the news, right? Who watches the news? Come on, we watch the news. Yeah. Social media, YouTube, everybody. There is one part of you that is connected to culture in a societal way, okay? And so here it is that there is something called a media purge. And I need y'all to write that down, a media purge. And this is a part of how he infuses culture. And what has happened recently, how many of you know what Parler is? How many of you have ever heard of Parler? Nobody's ever heard of Parler. P-A-R-L-E-R? No? Okay, so let me tell you, Parler was an app just like Facebook, Twitter, like that. But it was an app for, they called it freedom of speech. And what would happen on Parler, people can get on Parler and say racist things. They could threaten. They could do whatever they want to do, because it was based on freedom of speech, okay? So Parler was growing leaps and bounds. When we saw the rhetoric on the Capitol, much of that was instituted through Parler, okay? Because the majority of the people that you saw on the Capitol were the people who frequented Parler. I have to say it like that. Okay, so they could say and do whatever. So here it is that after that happened, now Parler's been in existence for a minute, and it was growing leaps and bounds, okay? But when the whole insurrection happened on the Capitol, it brought attention to the company. And so people started pulling their dollars. People like you and I started removing their monies, because the reason Parler was able to be on that platform, Amazon was the one who created the platform for Parler. See, I told you I was going to give you some information. Say undercurrents. Undercurrents, right. So they were the ones, but they all built it under the premise of free speech. Okay, so because of that whole ordeal, now they said what we have to do is now we have to create something that's called, we need to do a media purge, and the inventor of the World Wide Web, Tim Berners-Lee, launched an unveiling called A Contract for the Web. So he had a meeting in Berlin with about 150 of the most prominent tech companies, including Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Reddit, and they all were in agreement to put together a contract that would limit those, and this is what it's called, that would prevent the web from being misused by those who want to exploit, divide, or undermine. So what does that mean? It sounds like something we should be excited about. I need to make it make sense. But here it is in this. Those of the faith who preach Jesus, remember that is considered to some heresy. It's considered as bashing or bullying. So that means we got caught up in the same law now that they are now managing and limited. Anything, when you mention too much God or too much Jesus, and it kind of got caught up in the same program of parlor. I'm just helping. I'm taking my time with this. I don't want to go too fast with this, but I want you to understand that there are things that happen that seem so casual, seems like a good idea, but you need to understand the undercurrents behind it. So we got caught up. How many churches, when the pandemic happened, where did we preach? Come on, y'all. We preach online, YouTube, social media, right? So who manages that now with this law out there? Who has control of what we can release? Yes, they have control. Are those undercurrents? Make it make sense. So when things like that happen and we turn our nose and we shout in our churches and we jump and we dance and we, act as if we are not a part, I need you to understand this is affecting you too. Because if we go through another ordeal like we went through and they shut the churches down or shut everything down, don't you know that they can disconnect the church totally? They can, you better believe that wasn't the only pandemic. Let me go a little further. Okay, maybe this is fun. Y'all didn't like that. So how many of you know who Lil Nas X is? Let me see. I want to see Mother Jean. I want to see if my mothers was going to raise their hand. Little Nas X. So Little Nas X is a rapper, a young rapper. And he's really popular. What's the song he did with Billy Ray Cyrus? Old Time Road. Yeah, okay. So that's him. Now you know the song. So he came out with a shoe. Now this really bothered me. He came out with a shoe, and I really had a picture. I intended to send it. Maybe they can get it up before we leave. But he made this shoe, and the shoe cost $1,018. It's a sneaker, okay? And the sneaker is infused with human blood, and it is embossed with a bronze pentagram. Come on, I'm talking about culture, okay? Human blood, bronze pentagram on the front. If you don't know, it's satanic. Now, $1,018, it references Luke the 10th, verse 18. It says, and Christ saw Satan fall like lightning from the heavens. So he made the price of the shoe to reference this satanic shoe. Now, he only made 666 pairs of these shoes. Come on, people. 666 pairs of this shoe. Now, this is what he did. There is a check sign on it to make it look like Nike. Looking at it at glance, you would think it's a Nike shoe, and it caused Nike's stock to go down. But Nike did not formulate this shoe. There was another company that did it, and they actually were in a lawsuit. So what happened, they sold out so quick that they sold 665 pairs. When they got ready to auction off the last pair, that Nike actually got a cease and desist to stop them from selling it, so they held the last pair. so they could only sell 665. Won't he do it? So, in addition to this, Lil Nas created a video. I'm going to move on. He created a video, and in the video, he seduces Satan, he kills him, and he takes the crown for himself. I didn't see it. I didn't need to see it. I didn't need to see it. But this is culture. And this is what people are buying into. That $1,000 to get these shoes with blood on them. Are y'all hearing me? Can you say undercurrents? Culture. So he infuses us through fear. He infuses us through culture. And the last one, he infuses us through conflict. And then I'm going to be done for today. Are we enjoying this teaching? So most recently, I've been watching gun violence, especially in the South Florida area, but it's been everywhere. Gun violence and just violence all the way around. So I decided to do a little bit more research on how Satan is using conflict. I mean, even through simple conflicts between friends, if we can be honest, sometimes people get mad over stuff that seems so small and it turns into something really big. Are y'all gonna tell the truth today? You know, people, you're like, well, I don't even know. Have you ever been at the light? I told Bishop today, you got 1 second to pull off and that light changes and everybody starts blowing behind you. I mean, simple. It's like he just infuses and he causes you to be angry. You know, y'all get that? So here it is. I found that 2021 is on pace to being the most violent year for the U.S. in 2 decades. We're on pace. And so just to give you a little bit, and this came from actually the Herald. This, what I'm sharing with you right now, I got this morning. I decided to research it this morning. It says over 120 people in America died in shootings last weekend alone. Last weekend, with at least 3 mass shootings in Austin, Chicago, and Savannah. In May, there was a 28% increase of homicides in Philadelphia. There was a 76% increase in Tucson and a 23% increase in New York City of homicides in the last month or so. Are you with me today? So here it is, he's infusing conflict. People are angry like they've never been before, and part of it is because of uncertainty. We can be honest, people don't know how their lives are going to end. They don't know how I'm going to make ends meet. People are being evicted in groves, you understand? And they don't know where I'm going to be able to feed my kids. And I'm not saying that's an excuse. I'm just saying that Satan is using that to infuse conflict. And you know, when you're angry, you can't think. Come on, y'all, tell the truth. It says, be angry and sin what? Not. But it's hard when you let anger linger, which is why I tell you, don't let it hang around too long, because it starts to, you know, seduce you. Anger will seduce you. Anger will seduce you. So I just want to give a couple more things here with conflict, and we're going to be gone. And so I want to put out, while we are focused on a lot of the things that's going on with our current climate in the United States, I want to put the Boy Scouts out here, because you probably don't see this as conflict, but I do. And while we're dealing with COVID and all the violence and all, you know, the protests, that the Boy Scouts, did you know that paid out nearly $1 billion, over $1 billion, for over 60,000 sexual abuse victims. There are over 60,000 sexual abuse victims, and so they are paying out a total of 800, it's at nearly $1 billion, excuse me. For 60,000 sexual abuse victims, they have paid out $850 million with no trial. No trials. What's our title today? Make it make sense. Is that an infused? That's conflict. That's a conflict because we talk about taking care and, doing right is right. And all of this, Satan is infusing people who feel like they don't have any justice. And people are feeling like, it doesn't matter. Me doing the right thing doesn't matter. And people are getting tired. And so they're being turned over to themselves. Come on now. You got to understand being turned over to themselves. That's the whole thing. When you start governing yourselves, we're in total chaos. And then what the word says, when you start thinking doing what is right in your own eyes. Come on. So this is exactly what's going on. And so I'm going to give you a couple more things with countries. So in Greece, and this is just to help you out a little bit, conflict, mass protests. And this was July 2021 that protests erupted in Greece after government banned unvaccinated people from indoor public places. So if you have not been vaccinated, they ban you. You can't go. So then they start having protests, people fighting. Now, we might think that that's a good thing because we want everybody to be vaccinated, but I want you to go back to think that that is control. And if you think it's just about vaccination, I want you to think about what is this whole futuristically. Remember, Satan is strategic. He doesn't just do one thing just to do it. There's always a plan and a method behind everything that he does. So now it starts with unvaccinated people can't be in public areas. Okay, so that's Greece. In India, now this one took me out. In India, the Philippines president decided to put people in jail who refused the vaccine. He said people going to jail. This is what they put out there. Now, is that fear? And that is conflict. Pakistan. Now, this is the one that got me. Hopefully to take you out. It took me out. In Pakistan, unvaccinated people will have their SIM cards blocked. For those of you that don't know, for my mothers, your SIM card is that little thing in your phone that allows your phone to work. So unvaccinated people, that's back to that tracking system. So they can look in and see in their tracking system if you were vaccinated. So they're going to block your SIM phone, your SIM card. So now, if everything is cashless, make it make sense. Are y'all hearing me? Make it make sense. If everything is cashless and you're going to block my SIM card, I can't use my phone because I'm unvaccinated. So then even those that are vaccinated, when you don't do something else they want you to do, are they going to block you too? So this is the last part. So this is something for you to think about. This is the next pandemic I want to introduce. And the next pandemic is cybersecurity. The next pandemic is cybersecurity. And I'm going to tell you why this is important to you. How many of you paid attention the last couple of months that they kept having, what'd you say? Yeah, kept having data breaches. How many of you know they shut the gas system down? They couldn't get gas. There was a gas shortage. What else? There were some people they got in power plants. Okay, they got in some power plants. So that's a pandemic. Because if they can hold it hostage, and if everything is done electronically, come on people. If everything is done electronically, and they can hack our systems that our food, our water, our gas, our money, our being, everything we are exists in these systems. Is that not a pandemic? Make it make sense. These are undercurrents that we spend time fighting our brothers and sisters and not paying attention to what Satan is doing in the earth. All of these are things that he and his demonic forces have implemented to make us distracted so that we don't pay attention to what's really going on. And so these cyber attacks are clear and immediate danger to our society because they can hold your water hostage. How long can we exist without water? People of God, we got to be on our jobs, set our hospital services, transportation. Transportation, guys, can shut us down. one cyber attack. So ransomware and all of these things are tied to electronics that we're all being driven toward anyway. So here it is as we go back to Undercurrents. All of this is spiritual warfare, and that's it for today. And I shared all that to say, wake up. That listen, he says the light shines in darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. Out of everything I told you, he can never extinguish us. It seems grim. It seems like we're fighting against a lot. But the power of God in each of us said he can never put our light out. He can try to be us. The Bible says he masquerades as light. He can try to sound like us. He can look like us, but he does not have our power. And the sad part is we don't even realize how much power we have. So we succumb to his devices. He's never going to stop. He's never going to stop. It is our responsibility to stand firmly in what God told us. Are you getting this? To recognize him and to call him by name. Say, Belial, I see you. Beelzebub, I see you. Oh, that's the devil right there because he's a slanderer. To be able to identify him and to call him by name so that you can release a host of angels. Oh, y'all not hearing me today. To go to those places. Stan, I'm going to pray because I don't want you to be sad. I want you to be encouraged today that yes, this is what we're fighting against, but God trusts you. You are part of the elite crew, the remnant who receive revelation of what God is doing in the earth. You better believe that he trusts you. Take this and do something with it. Say, yeah, he uses fear. So when you see it, identify it. That's fear infused by Satan. He wants me to be afraid. To tell other people, he wants you to be afraid. But I decree that we will not be afraid. Why? Because perfect love, what? Cast out. You better say it. And God has perfect love for me. I mean, it ain't even based on how I love him. It's how he loves me. You better understand it because some days y'all love me rag to tell the truth. You're like, I love you, but it's the way he loves me. And that it casts out all fear. And then you understand what's next? Culture. So yes, we're not against culture, but you recognize Satan's advantages and how he infuses culture, and he makes it seem so harmless. He makes it seem so small, it's nothing. But it does matter. Use your discernment and pay attention to what he's doing. Not everything is for you. We got this whole idea that I'm living my life, I could do what I want. No, you can't. You can't do what you want. You've been bought with the price. You can't do what you want. I'm sorry, you don't have that liberty. And you cost a lot. I'm expensive. Y'all think them name brands are designers? Lay hands on yourself. I'm expensive. I cost a lot. A whole lot. So he infuses culture. And lastly, conflict. Pay attention because he tries to get all of us in conflict. He wants us to be fighting each other. He wants us to focus on things that don't matter. He wants us to be mad about stuff that's so small. And it's his hand. It's those undercurrents. It looks on the top that it's this way. But pay attention to what's going on underneath. Say, what is he going to get out of this? What is he going to get out of me not talking to them anymore? Because if I'm the believer, if God is speaking to me, what's going to be lost if I remove myself? If God is giving me the word, come on, never mind them. If he dispatched me and I cut that time, what is it going to cost? He infuses conflict, makes us so focused on our feelings. Yes, our feelings get hurt, our emotions. And I'm going to talk about that next week. There are 3 more things that he does, that he infuses in each of us to keep us distracted. I promise it's going to be some good stuff. Y'all believe that? As I get ready to pray, I'm going to share some things with y'all next week, y'all. I'm going to pull out some stuff about Pfizer and Moderna next week. Oh, yeah. And I'm just going to say this, that they did some stuff for the vaccine 19 days before they even announced COVID-19 was a pandemic. I'm going to just leave it at that. Yeah, I'm going to leave it. at that. Before China even said that they had already done a study here in the United States. But with that, we're going to pray. We're going to pray, people. Undercurrents. Undercurrents. Lay hands on yourself. I am God's idea. So therefore, you are Satan's enemy because you are God's idea. Anything that God thinks he wants to kill, God thinks about you. He wants to kill you. He doesn't want God to think about you. He doesn't want God to have a plan for you. Are y'all getting this? He says, but I have good thoughts. Can we pray? Game. So let me tell you what the goal of the enemy is, why he comes at us as we get ready to move forward, to distract you from what God has called you to do. I said it like that. Yes, I can say to distract us, but I came to let you know that he creates undercurrents to distract you from what God has called.